and welcome to another edition of the E-commerce Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Brett Curry, CEO of OMG Commerce, and today we're talking Facebook ads, and testimonial ads, testimonial videos, both of which I'm passionate about. And those that are longtime listeners know I'm not a Facebook guy per se. I am a video marketing guy though, and I absolutely love testimonials and using testimonials in videos. And so my guest today is Mr. Bob Regnerus, and he is the co-founder of Feed Stories, which we'll get into all that Feed Stories does later in the show. He's also the author of the 4th edition of The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising in partnership with Perry Marshall on that book. Perry's a friend of the show. And so really excited to dive into these topics. And with that, Bob, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on and really looking forward to this.
Yeah, looking forward. Always good talking with you, Brett, and we'll just have a little bit bigger audience this time.
There you go. I like it. And yeah, so excited to dig in here. Very cool. First of all, congrats for authoring The Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. I know the pain and sacrifice it takes to be an author. Although I wrote The Ultimate Guide to Google Shopping that Shopify published, but that was more like a supersized guide. You wrote like a real book, a real book. And so congrats on that.
This is the real book. This was 19 months of my life.
Dang, yeah.
It was March of 2019 when Perry tapped me on the shoulder. And so from that day forward, so a lot of research and yeah, I think we ended up at about 350 pages, and there was about 150 that we cut out. So it was challenging not only to write all of that, then to pare it down so we had a really efficient book. So yeah, I've written a few, but this has been my biggest undertaking of my career for sure.
Well, congrats. Yeah, and I know I've heard that process. The editing process can feel like surgery. You're amputating limbs and things like that. That's what that process is like. So, really excited to dive in, man. I know you and I have kind of collaborated together on a couple of testimonial type projects. So your company Feed Stories very good at getting testimonials and doing that remotely. And so we'll talk about some of the cool things surrounding that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Facebook advertising. Let's just kind of talk about kind of the face or the state of Facebook advertising here where we find ourselves in 2021. All kinds of concerns going on, right? There's increased privacy and potentially lack of tracking and attribution, which is always an issue, always potentially confusing, and that looks like that's maybe only going to get harder. So let's talk high level, and then you and I were talking kind of off or before we hit record. Most of the e-commerce evolution listeners are pretty advanced. They're growing. They got a great brand, probably spending a decent amount on Facebook already, maybe dabbling into YouTube and using some of our resources for that. But what are some of the strategic considerations as someone's looking at, okay, how do we navigate this year and beyond? What are some of the big strategic considerations for Facebook ads right now?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It's just going to be there's going to be more and more talk about this as we head here into 2021. So I think if anybody realized what happened during the 2016 election and the follow-up from that, what we're hearing today should be of no surprise. We're all familiar with the Cambridge Analytica quote unquote scandal. I don't know if it's a scandal, but I mean, Facebook basically had an open portal to all their data, and a company, Cambridge, kind of figured it out and leveraged it to help elect a president. And from that, the fallout's kind of it's been a snowball, and is probably the best way to describe it in terms of what's happening now for us advertisers. So a couple of things have happened. Number one, we've lost a lot of our ability to target. So we're already fighting with that. That's number one. But what's happening now is more of there's been a surge from this really started in Europe, GDPR. California, of course, is always kind of in front of things with this, and so CCPA. But what we're really seeing here is Apple is the first large company to really kind of take a step forward and say, you know what, we're going to stand up for privacy. You put Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook. Like you put those four together. Apple's the one that kind of stepped in front of the line and said, you know what, we're gonna start putting some controls on privacy because it's getting out of control. Um, I think as a consumer, Brett, we look at that and go, well, that's a good thing, right? I think we all want to have a level of privacy, and when we don't really understand what the big companies are doing with our data, it's a little scary.
Yeah, for
As a
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
right,
And just a quick note for those that don't know, and I think most people listening probably do, but CCPA, that's the California Consumer Protection Act, correct? And then
okay, yeah, yeah,
GDPR is just the British equivalent, or the European equivalent of that, right? Just looking at
right,
more privacy, more protection for the
right.
shopper.
In essence, a lot of work for your webmaster, developer, and lawyer is
Yes,
what
no
those are.
kidding.
Um,
No kidding. Yeah,
we
for sure.
thought we were avoiding it, but here we go.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but from a marketing perspective, like, so we're trying to sell our products and services. Like the ability for us to leverage what the big companies do for us. So in this case, Facebook, we could say the same thing about Google, but I mean, it's really allowed us to micro target and find customers. What big companies know through, the Facebook pixel and what people do on the Facebook platform has made, using lookalikes and artificial intelligence really kind of a dream. It's almost like an easy button now. Um, and and really what's happening now is there's going to be a fallout from all this. Facebook knows it, and Facebook is scared when they take out full page ad and do a full uh, PR campaign, basically
Yep.
campaigning against Apple. So I
They
don't.
know that's going to be a major revenue hit for them. Yeah.
They do know, right? And that's why they're so aggressive with this. I just got off a coaching call, and one of the things we said is, what happens when two Goliaths fight? Well, who wins?
Lawyers get rich.
Yeah. I can guarantee you one thing: we as marketers will lose, right?
Right, right,
No
yeah.
matter what, no matter what happens here, we're going to lose some things. So essentially what's happening is there's going to be a lockdown on Apple devices. So we're talking iPhones, iPads, Macs. Um, there's going to be a prompt if you are going to use Facebook. There's going to be this big scary prompt on an Apple device that basically says, "Hey, let Facebook use all my data," or more importantly, it's going to be, "Hey, don't let Facebook use my data."
Yep.
So what's going to happen? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to lose some tracking capabilities for sure. It's not like we're going to find a way to necessarily get around it, but it's gonna affect us as marketers. So tracking is going to become an issue. Um, Facebook has already talked about creating algorithms that model. They're going to try to create models to replicate what they have, but it's going to be very difficult for us to track sales and visitors and anything outside of a 7-day window. They're basically capping their attribution at 7 days. Right now it's 28 days. So that's going to be a big change. There's two other things. I'll mention one, which is probably not as important, but this is going to really disrupt the app industry. All those games that we love playing on our phones for free, those are all supported by ad revenue. And in the middle of a Scrabble game or a game of solitaire, we get interrupted by a 15-second commercial. That's all powered by the audience network, which Facebook owns, and it's ad space. So that essentially is probably going to go away. We're going to see people who rely on revenue from apps. They're going to have to switch to a subscription model if they want to stay relevant. So the audience network is gonna it's kind of a wild west, but it's going to be a placement that's going to be very difficult for us to advertise on now. So that's going to mean a change to what we do. But what's going to affect us more, Brett, and especially those listening, is the ability to track on-site events. So website visitors and add to cart and purchases and those things is going to be I hope I can use this word, it's going to be crippled a little bit. We're going to lose some of the effectiveness. And I'll go over here in a minute some ways we can kind of mitigate that. But we're going to see a substantial change to our ability to track and build audiences off of people that visit our website. That's going to be the biggest fallout out of this.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and you made an interesting point that I agree with, kind of at the top of this. That hey, as a consumer, as a shopper, I like the idea that maybe I'm not being tracked 100%, right? That there are these big companies that essentially know everything about me. I don't know. I actually like the convenience of it too. Honestly, I have a
Yeah,
really hard. I have a really hard time unplugging my marketer's brain, but I do
right.
see that, like from a consumer standpoint, okay, this may be a good move. Uh, the marketer in me though sees these challenges, right? Sees them very clearly. Where we've really gotten into kind of this amazing era of machine learning,
Hmm.
subset of AI, where now some of these smart bid algorithms that Facebook and Google use are really allowing us to do amazing things. On the YouTube side, we're scaling ad spend from 10,000 to $30,000 a day, sometimes profitably with a good YouTube ad. That's not that that's going to go away completely. I don't believe it will,
No.
but doing it the way we're doing it, it is going to shift. Now, I will say, and I'll get a little bit historic here as I talk about marketing, but I was actually, so I went through like reading a bunch of marketing classics years and years ago. And one of the books that was recommended to me, probably when I was in my early 20s, was uh, oh no, Tested Advertising Methods by John
Yeah.
Caples, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so John Caples, one of the all-time copywriting legends. But in his day, they tracked everything by mail order, right? And so they had the online didn't exist, none of that existed, right? Computers didn't exist at the time, so they would you know send out different ads, and they would have different mailing addresses where someone would have to mail their coupon to, and then they would know, because hey, I received this coupon at this address, that it was this ad, right? So like, we're never it's all marketing is always going to be about having the right message, a compelling message to the right person at the right time. And we're just gonna have to get creative. Like we're gonna have to maybe think about, just to use a really good, quick and rudimentary example, different landing pages for different creatives, right? Like we may have to
Hmm.
go old school for just a little bit.
Yep.
But I do think, and you mentioned that Facebook is working on models, AI and machine learning not going away, right? We'll still be able to
Right.
leverage it. It's just going to be a little bit different. And so I think in some ways it's going to favor the smart marketers, or the marketers that can really pivot and adapt. But challenges on the horizon, right? Right.
Yeah.
Rough waters ahead for sure.
Well, it's going to affect the average advertiser and the beginners for sure,
Yes.
because a lot of the things that we know, um, it's just because we that's the way we had to live a number of years
Yep.
ago.
Yep.
So I mean, obviously we're aging ourselves a little bit here, but there's really been an easy button with digital
No
advertising
doubt.
here
No
in the
doubt.
last 5, 6 years for sure. Um, but you're right. You're going to have to be smarter about the way you kind of segment things. So what I told my clients this morning is, I'm putting a renewed emphasis on building your own list. Uh, the idea of,
For sure.
we're not just going to rely on Facebook to track our people anymore. It's going back to, I want to move them to a media that I have a little bit more control over. Obviously, we know from what's going on currently, apps could get shut down, websites can get shut down, email services, right? So diversification is probably the most important thing we could think about. Not only diversifying your media, but diversifying kind of how you communicate with your customers and prospects. So I think there's going to be renewed emphasis on uh, building out forms to get email addresses and connect with people. But yeah, the more it's more rudimentary, right? I mean, it's more efficient to have a single landing page and let the pixel handle everything. I guess we're kind of taking a
Right.
step back in that way.
Yeah. Might
But
have to.
that might be the reality of it, right? Is we're
Exactly.
going to have
Yeah.
to create different landing pages. And from a technical side, there's probably things you can do on the server and things like that to do better tracking. But
Sure.
in reality, what we're talking about is some of the really cool things that we can do inside of Facebook, segmenting audiences, website custom audiences specifically based on when they hit our website or what part of our website. I've got chapters in the book about how to use that, right? And some of that capability is going to be taken away. Now, not 100%. It's not like
Sure.
that's going away. There's things that you could do, and maybe this would be a good time to get into it. There's really three things that you should be doing as a Facebook advertiser, or if somebody's doing it for you, you should be checking into. The first is what's called domain verification. So inside a Business Manager, there's a brand safety link. It's very easy. This is something people have done, for other services, but you want to get your domain verified. So it's either putting something on your domain or it's uploading a small file to your web server that basically allows Facebook to uniquely identify your domain, that you own it. That's the first thing to do. The second thing, if you're using something like Shopify, and I know a lot of our listeners are probably using that platform or one of the other major ones, they've already integrated a new version of the Pixel, which is Facebook calls their conversion API. It basically allows the server, it's at a deeper level to do the tracking that we're really used to at a more cursory level with the JavaScript portion of the Pixel. But uh, using conversion API is another way for you to be able to do this. Good news is, even if you're not on an e-com platform, let's just say you're using WordPress, the official WordPress plugin that Facebook has been updated. So if you haven't updated that plugin, I would go ahead and do that sooner than later. That has the conversion API built in as well. And really what it means for us, Brett, is that it's going to allow us to track more people accurately than we have before. And there's one more thing in regards to the Pixel. I'll just mention it here.
Yeah, please.
Is there's something called advanced matching. And so when you put a form on your website, obviously people are putting in their name, their address, phone number, email, things like that. Uh, Facebook has the ability to obviously read the data that was inputted on that form. Even if there's a pixel event, even if there's not a pixel event from that, let's say the pixel is blocked, Facebook still is able to take that demographic information and match it to their database. So even in that instance, advanced matching, you're able to sometimes get a match on something even when the pixel is blocked. And we have a client right now where we get 15% of our of our conversions are from advanced matching. So this is sent from the event setup tool. If you're not technical with inside of Facebook, who's ever handling your Facebook account can go in there and do that. But those are three things that you could do right now that will help at least mitigate some of the fallout from this.
Yeah, and I think, one important thing to note is, hey, Facebook is still going to be able to keep their data, right? Where they know that Bob is logging into Facebook and they see what you're
Right,
liking and commenting on. Like they see what happens
right.
in their own ecosystem. Google's going to be able to still do the same thing, right? They see what you're searching for, they see what you're doing on
hmm
YouTube, stuff like that. That's their ecosystem.
Well, that's
But
that's
this is,
really
yeah,
the good thing. That's the good
yeah,
thing, Brett. Let me jump in here. Is that
sure,
anything that happens within the Facebook universe is completely the same.
yes,
So one of the things that I talk about a lot, and it's because our company does it, but video custom audiences are still going to be valid. Even if you're using an Apple device that's blocking the pixel, Facebook still knows what videos you watched within
yep,
within the platform. It knows how long you watched it. So a lot of the strategies we talk about in relation to timing content based on the number of seconds or the percentage of a video watched, that's still going to be there. Lead forms, the lead form objective type is still going to be there, collecting emails and data within Facebook itself. Instant experiences. So all these interactive elements within Facebook ad platform now are not going away. And so it's a time for us to maybe shift away a little bit or not totally rely on landing pages and forms like that, but maybe shifting some of the focus to doing those types of things. And then the other thing that Facebook has done is both on the Instagram and Facebook platform is roll out like these brand new shopping interfaces. So I think this is probably going to affect a lot of people, Brett, that you're working with, and
yep.
is like you're going to have to kind of have a second store, like a Facebook store or an Instagram store set up to sell your products. And it's all fair game inside of there, right?
Yep.
Um, so it's kind
And
of like you got Shopify and Facebook running at the same time, right?
yeah, absolutely. And it's something that's been discussed for a long time, and Facebook has kind of dabbled in it a decent amount. I know the Facebook Marketplace has really taken off, kind of the Facebook's answer to Craigslist, so to speak. The actual like Facebook's answer to Google Shopping, as an example, that really hasn't taken off, but I bet it will one day. And actually, I view it as a good thing. I mean, we do a ton with Google Shopping, but
Yeah.
ultimately we just want merchants to be successful. So if that means, hey, we can sell more on Facebook, and that's an additional marketplace that we can sell on in addition to Google Shopping and Amazon, then that's awesome. One thing I think that will also do, getting back to information that Facebook can track, on the Google side, Google builds what's called in-market audiences, where they can see based on what you're doing through search that, hey, I'm in the market for lacrosse gear. My daughter's playing lacrosse, so it's not fresh in my mind, but I'm in the market for lacrosse gear. I just bought sticks and bags and balls and all that stuff. Now Google can build an audience around that, right? In-market audience.
Yep.
And Facebook can do the same thing, and Facebook is doing the same thing now. But again, that's going to be another component where, hey, I can see what someone is shopping for on Facebook, and so now I can still put them in that in-market audience. I don't know what they call it in the Facebook world, but the equivalent of an in-market audience. That's all data that Facebook's going to be able to use, and that you're going to be able to use, that shopper behavioral data, which is super powerful.
That's all there, and Facebook
Yeah.
really kind of pushed Google on that. Facebook was way ahead in terms of audiences. Google,
They
I think, is
were,
still.
no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's based.
one thing I will just plug really quickly is, we talked to a lot of Facebook advertisers. A lot of people come to us, they're spending, 100, 200, 300,000 a month on Facebook, and they want to do something on YouTube. And, lookalike audiences, maybe we can talk about audiences in a minute, but lookalike audiences on Facebook, I know they're so powerful. They're so good. And it makes sense. Like, it makes sense that that type of audience would be just killer. Well, Google has their own version. It's called similar to audiences.
Mhm.
And I'm a Google guy. I love Google, but they're not that good. They're not that good. Like, it's just hit or miss. Sometimes we have a similar to audience that crushes it. Other times it's just kind of hit or miss. We did see, and I'll be careful here because of some NDAs, but we had to see an alpha of some stuff Google's doing on like a new version of similar to audiences. It's not called that. That looks pretty wicked, amazing. But for now, like, Facebook is totally kicking Google's butt when it comes to lookalike audiences, in my opinion, from my observation anyway.
Yeah, and it's really it's based on two things. Number one, people spend a lot of time within Facebook's platform, so they track all that behavior, right? They know what they like, they know what they read, they know what they comment on. So that's why everybody's newsfeed's customized. And then the second thing is the pixel itself. So it knows on in-app activity, and it knows off-app activity. So like my wife and I, we're kind of doing our winter prep, with our golfing and getting ready for the spring and trying to take a trip down to Florida here soon. And, we're looking at golf stuff. Well, guess what our Facebook feed is filled with, right? It's golf stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, Facebook is just really good. And again, I think as a user, I'm okay with that because, I'm not
Better than
seeing
irrelevant
ads.
ads, right? Yeah.
Right. I'm not seeing ads for things like I'm not seeing ads for lacrosse gear, which
Right.
is good, right? Because I don't have a daughter that plays lacrosse, so that would
Right.
be
Right.
irrelevant to me,
Right.
right? But I do golf, and so I do appreciate some of the things that get in my newsfeed related to that because I'm a consumer, right? And so that's a big benefit. That's a huge benefit to the marker, and Facebook is right in that way. The way they're arguing it is we're going to lose a little bit of that. They're going to lose the ability to do that scary targeting that we all talk about. Um,
Yeah,
but I agree with them on the point of it's a benefit to the user
it
when
is.
a marketer can super target an ad.
Yep. Yep.
Unfortunately,
Yep.
there's a lot of bad apples, Brett, that don't listen to us, that just do things really crappy
Always,
and
always the bad apples that
right.
ruin it for the rest of us. Yeah,
Yeah, say
absolutely.
they're the
So,
ones that pee in the pool.
exactly, exactly. So, let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about some audience strategies. Just
Hmm.
anything new or any considerations, related to strategic audience targeting, and then I want to move into kind of some ad creatives, and then we talk testimonials as well. But let's talk audiences. Anything new or any tips, suggestions, ideas
Yeah.
you would give to people for audience targeting right now?
Yeah, I mean, this has really shifted and it's really become simple in our opinion is that as long as we're creating good models, meaning we're modeling our customers or our best customers, Lookalike audiences is absolutely where you should be running your prospecting ads against. I know there's still people that want to build really careful, detailed interest target audiences, but I found it to be way more effort than it's worth. Facebook themselves, I've talked with Facebook engineers, people that actually work on the algorithm, like, Bob, we we could target much better than you. So like focus on the ad creative because that's way more important. As long as we have the right campaign objective and we're using some of the AI, we're going to get most of our results from how good our ad is and how good our
Yes.
our offer
Yes.
is. So we as marketers we should be spending 80% of our time working on our offers, working on our creative. That's where the real wins are. So from that perspective, using a good lookalike, as long as you have a good model. I've come across a few accounts lately that I've done audits on where they've got really, really old lookalikes, meaning, they created a model. I just looked at this one the other day. They had a model from 2018 and they were still using that lookalike in a prospecting ad. I like to keep those things as fresh as possible. So, create a new model. Your customers change, their demographics change. Upload fresh customer lists at least like once a quarter, maybe twice a year, but and create new lookalikes off of that. And it's really interesting to see how different those are when you start to kind of do some comparisons inside of the audience tool. So that would be my best recommendation is keep a good fresh model, so that you have that recency built into your models, so you get a much better lookalike when you do prospecting.
Love that. I think that's super, super smart, and I love what you said, because this is the same on YouTube. I know I've been making the comparisons of YouTube and Facebook a lot, but I think it's really relevant. Like the two play well together, or they complement each
Very
other,
much,
and
yes.
some similarities there. So one of the things we talk about a lot, and this is info directly from Google, but we've seen it pan out where 50 to 80% of your success on YouTube is the creative, right? It's the
Mhm.
actual ad you're running, because it's amazing where if you're talking to the right person but saying the wrong thing, you're going to get nowhere. Obviously,
Right.
if you're selling retirement homes to teenagers, that's not going to work either. So audience plays a part in it, but a lot of your success is going to come from the creatives themselves. And so
Right.
let's dive into that a little bit. What are you focusing on? Or are you doing more video ads? I know video is a specialty of yours, so I want to get into some specifics there in a minute, but are you running more video than image ads? Does it depend on the client? What does that mix kind of look like right now?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't a client that I work with that we're not pushing video in the news feed. There, there's a technical advantage to this, because again, related to tracking, if we lose 100% accuracy in terms of people landing on a website, we're not going to lose that within the Facebook platform. So a video custom audience. Uh, Here's what I found, Brett, and this is, I could throw numbers out there, but essentially we're finding that, let's just say for an average of a 1 minute video, somebody that watches 75% or more of a video, I have found has proven more valuable than a landing page visitor. So that means this:
Fascinating.
we don't necessarily know how long somebody spends on a site unless we set up our tag manager for scroll
Right.
depth or things
Right.
like
Yep.
that, right?
Yep.
Which you should be doing. But I know this, a landing page visit is kind of, it's a little esoteric, but somebody that watches 45 seconds of a 1 minute video, I know they spent 45 seconds with me.
Yes. Yes.
That is an eternity in internet time.
It really is. It
Right?
really is.
Right? And so
Yep.
if you're nailing your video creative, I mean, you nailed it there, which is, if you've got a good message to market match, if the video is compelling, if you hook them, if you talk about the problem, if you agitate the problem, you develop, a solution to offer them and have a good clear call to action, a 45-second or more video viewer converts on the back end significantly more than somebody who just lands on your website. So we are pushing video as much as possible. Facebook has been pushing for years for shorter and shorter video, and we started to buy into that, but we've actually gone the opposite way. We're using longer and longer video. Kind of our standard video length, at least for a cold audience, is about a minute, and we'll go 30 seconds shy or 30 seconds over that. But we have found that a good 1 minute video in the Facebook newsfeed that is structured properly carries a lot of weight, and does more than what we could do necessarily on a landing page. So that's kind of what we're pushing in terms of our clients on the cold traffic side. On the warm
That's
traffic
really interesting.
side, we're running some videos. Sometimes they're 2 minutes, 5 minutes. We've run 15-minute videos, kind of middle of funnel. If you have a complicated or expensive or engaging type of product or service and people are in the market for it, um, they're going to watch that content. Maybe they don't watch it all the way through, but they're absorbing a lot of that. So I have found video to be, I mean, geez, it's been since 2016 that we've really shifted so much to video, but video is so much easier for people to consume on their mobile phones,
It
and
is.
90+% of our traffic is mobile related. So videos, and I'll say this: people don't like to read, but they do like their captions on, because most people watch videos with the sound off. So,
Yes.
make sure you use captions on your videos, but it's just consume more. You get better
Yeah.
engagement and you get better pricing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say you get a discount, but because it's cheaper than some of the other advertising you do, I see it as a discount.
Yeah, and the way, Facebook looks at it is, hey, people are more likely to engage with a video ad, and
Hmm.
because consumers do like it, and so you get rewarded a little bit by
Hmm.
slightly lower ad costs with that, which makes sense. And yeah, all of those really valid points. I want to key in on something really quickly, and then we'll talk testimonials. I love that you guys are going longer with the videos. That's awesome. Google as well. YouTube, they're making a push for shorter videos. We're not really seeing that work at all on our end. Like anything less than 30 seconds, we're not finding success with on YouTube. And I talked to a lot of other big YouTube advertisers, and they're all kind of in the same boat. Kind of that minute and a
Yeah.
half to 2.5 minutes is. I think
Yep.
it'd be even longer on YouTube than on Facebook in some regards. But yeah, that's really interesting, and I think that just goes to show, like, you should listen to your Facebook reps. You should listen to what conventional wisdom is, but you should test, because sometimes what they say is totally self-serving, even, and sometimes the reps don't even know it, right? They're just saying what they've been told to say.
They don't
Um,
know. Yeah, they're
yeah,
they're they're there to meet objectives. They have to have a certain number of phone calls, in-person appointments, and then there's an agenda they push. But
yeah,
what I
yeah,
really like what you said, Brett. I think Facebook and YouTube, in terms of video, really complement each other. And if you're having success on Facebook using video, I think it's a fairly easy jump to YouTube. And I think vice versa. What you found working on YouTube, you can shift to Facebook and make it work fairly well. A little bit different,
absolutely.
right? A little bit different in
Yeah,
terms of the technical part of it, but the important part, ports real well between the two platforms.
it does pour well. Sometimes you have to make a few tweaks to the opening of the video, and if you're going from Facebook to YouTube, you can't rely on any of that copy block above the video like you have on Facebook.
Hmm.
That's not there
Hmm.
on YouTube, but yeah, similar ability to target people. Creatives work pretty closely, although they are somewhat different. But yeah, you're 100% right. If you're finding success with Facebook video, YouTube should be something you're considering. If you're really
Hmm.
crushing it on YouTube, you should be running video ads on Facebook without a doubt. And so, yeah, so I think that's really important. Well, let's talk kind of quickly, and I know we're sort of up against it. Got time for a few more things to discuss here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about testimonials. So
Yeah.
first of all, kind of share what you guys do at Feed Stories. I think it's really unique and really interesting. So talk about what you do, and then we'll talk about kind of the how and whys of testimonial videos.
Yeah, Feed Stories was born out of a meeting I had at Facebook in 2016. I was down in Austin, and there was about 100 advertisers in the room. It was kind of a pre-holiday thing, and they were pushing some strategies and things like that. But man, for 2 days straight, all they kept talking about was video. So it's funny, I was a Facebook ad agency at that point, more of a solo guy, I should say. That I had a couple
Yeah,
people
yeah,
helping me, but so I went downstairs, I went outside, I called my current business partner, Brandon Boyd, who's a creative and copywriter, is a graphic and copywriter guy who had been working in video. I'm like, hey Brandon, like, dude, this all they keep talking about is video, and there's all this proof, and everything was like Facebook and Instagram just pushing towards video. I said, we really got to focus in on that. So that's kind of where Feed Story was born, a conversation in late 2016 on the streets of Austin. And what we do is we work with companies, individuals, doing video, and built for the news feed, built for YouTube, built for Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. And the type of video that we do is very much like you and I are doing, having conversation. We do interview style or face to camera. We do some things like some animation, some graphic stuff, but we really try to build a story behind an individual or a brand, and with the eye of a copywriter, right? The eye of us helping the person sell. So video. Obviously, you dabble in video, Brett. Like, there's video that looks good and might win some awards, but then there's video that actually sells. So um, we feel we have this superpower here at Feed Stories to pull a story out of somebody's head and organize it into a really coherent sales process. So it's not just a single video course; it's video over time, and we call it deep funnel marketing, and I outline it all in the book that you mentioned. But we're really dealing with creating content for top of funnel to get people's attention, content in middle of funnel to nurture them, and content in the bottom of funnel to close them. And you said a phrase that's almost identical, Brett. I in all my training, I talk about the right audience, the right content to the right audience at the right time, and that's kind
yes,
of what we're all about. And we love video because it's engaging. People, I mean, look, obviously during 2020, we've lost that personal connection, and I think people really need that.
they
So
do, without a
I
doubt.
I just feel, and Brandon and I feel like, why not try to develop as much magnetic connection with your market as possible. So we really love getting people within a business, the founder, the owner, on camera, and find out why they do what they do, and connect with people on a story level. And then what really came out of that, Brett, you mentioned testimonials. We have a service called testimonials.live. My favorite thing to put in the middle of funnel is, if you do anything, do testimonials. It's just the most powerful thing that you could have in marketing. You and I can sit here all day and talk about ourselves and try to sell our agency and our coaching services all day long, our sell our e-commerce products, whatever it is. But when somebody who has actually paid us money has the has made the step to get on camera and to talk about the transformation they've had by doing business with you, it's the most powerful marketing tool in the world. So we love getting a client's customers on camera and walking them through a simple process to help them tell a really great story about your company. And it's absolutely magnetic type of content that closes business for you.
Yeah, I just love it, and I think testimonials can be used in a lot of different ways. I think they can be sprinkled into your cold traffic or top of funnel videos because testimonials make all of your claims easier to believe. When you
Mhm.
can use a testimonial to overcome an objection, that's powerful. You use testimonials for proof. That's all really powerful. We've even run some top of funnel videos that are just a mashup of testimonials. I think though you're 100% right. That often works really well mid funnel, because a lot of
Yeah.
times mid funnel, you got someone's interest, they're at least somewhat interested and aware of the product, but they need more, right? They need more
Yep.
education, more convincing, just a little more proof, right, to get them over the edge. And what's so great about the way you guys approach testimonials, and this is the way I've always done it. Done get some TV background, but this way I've always wanted to approach it is you interview, right? You're not
Yep.
handing someone a script. You're not saying,
Yeah.
hey, could you say these specific things? You're just interviewing and letting them speak in their own words because you need that authentic testimonial to come through. It's so much more powerful when someone says something in their own words and it's from the heart,
Yeah.
and you can feel that, you know.
And that may be a big difference between us and other video companies. We have never used a script. In fact, the
Yep.
only time we've used a script twice, and it was for animated video because we had we had a spokesperson read it. I think like you and I are having this. We kind of planned a little bit what we're going to talk about, but we really didn't know the way the conversation was going to
Exactly,
flow,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So that's the way we approach a video session. It takes a lot of pressure off somebody to say, look, I'm going to be the interviewer. I'm going to take a lot of pressure off for you. I'm going to give you the high level points we're going to cover, but all you have to do is talk about what you already know. And people are just way more comfortable on camera because they don't have to worry about, all right, did I say it right?
yeah,
When you ask somebody to memorize something, their energy goes down, they become closed off.
yeah.
That doesn't play well on camera. What you really want, when you watch a news show, when you watch somebody being interviewed, they're talking about what they know. And if you have a really gifted director or interviewer who can pull that out of you, like, it makes for really compelling video. And so, whether it's you on camera or it's your customers on camera, like, having somebody just ask some questions and have a conversation, it makes really, really compelling video content.
Yeah, and yeah, you don't hand a script to someone unless they're an actor, right? If
Oh,
they're a professional actor, great. If not, no.
yeah.
Just have a conversation.
Oh,
So,
yeah. I mean, they have years of training on how to make that look natural. But yeah,
right,
we're not
right.
trying to put on a production here. We're trying to tell a story. And yeah, for the lay people, absolutely, a script is just absolutely, it's so restrictive. It's never worth it.
Yep, yep. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about the book. First of all, anybody listening, you can tell, like, hey, Bob knows his stuff. Obviously, Perry never would have partnered with him if he didn't, but you got a glimpse of it, you got a taste of it here. It's awesome stuff. I love how you talk about the deep funnel strategy and getting the right video for top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel. Where can people find the book? I'm sure in the obvious places, but
Yep.
where can they find it? Anything else you would mention about the book? And then I'm just curious, do you have is there an audible version of the book yet? I enjoy listening, but no problem if not.
Yeah, no, there's been no talk about an audible version because there's so many visual elements within the
Yeah,
book,
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of
Good point.
screenshots. So the book itself, the way I approach the book is there's got to be kind of the technical, hands-on, manual type stuff. Go here, do this. This is what it looks like. So that's obviously a part of the book. But I did fill the book with a lot of timeless strategy stuff. So
Yes,
you and
yes.
I reference older people that have come before us and wrote books like John Capel. I I talk about Eugene Schwartz quite a bit in the book,
Dude,
who wrote,
that is a
right,
legend. Yeah,
Breakthrough Advertising 1966. Like, what, you're talking about that
yeah,
in a Facebook book? But
yeah.
um
Still
I,
so relevant.
yeah, I'm a basketball coach, so
Nice,
the
me
way,
too.
yeah, I mean, I've been coaching basketball since I was 16 years old. So I mean, I'm going on year 35 here soon of basketball.
It's
But
amazing.
I approach it from a fundamental standpoint because that's how I help my players and my teams win, right? Is focusing on the fundamentals. So I take the same approach to my coaching clients, and consulting gigs. Is if I get you to apply the right fundamentals, um, the thing that works today and goes away tomorrow is really not useful to you. But if you learn this fundamental, you're going to be able to adapt and apply it over years. So, my idea is, yeah, obviously the book needed a rewrite. It was 3 years old. A lot of the technical stuff was completely out of date. So my goal in writing this version was, yeah, there's going to be a little bit that's going to be out of date, but the fundamentals that are in here, the direct marketing principles, I've had a lot of people read it, Brett, that are just getting started, and they're getting a good marketing education, and that kind of touches me in a really deep way because I'm helping somebody learn what you and I kind of breathe every day.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the book is filled with it. So yeah, obviously it's available at major retailers. I have a resource site, ultimatefb.com. I've got interviews with some of the people that helped me with it. Ryan Dice wrote a chapter. Jeff Walker wrote a chapter. Brian Kurtz wrote a chapter. So I interviewed them, and I got a number of other people that I talked with. So I've got those interviews there as a bonus. I'd love for you to go over there and opt in and, learn a few things from some people that I really admire. UltimateFB.com. And, if you're interested in video and testimonials, feedstories.com would be another good way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Bob, has been amazing. I'm going to check out those interviews at ultimatefb.com. I have not seen those yet, so I definitely want to do that.
Cool.
If you don't already have it, get the Ultimate Guide to Facebook Advertising. Highly, highly recommend it. With that, Bob, man, thank you so much for the time. It's been a ton of fun. We could have talked for like another 2 hours. I still would have enjoyed it.
We could have.
But
Yeah.
Really appreciate it, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
That was an honor, Brett. Always good talking with you, man.
Fantastic. Thanks, Bob. And as always, thank you for tuning in. We'd love to hear more from you. What would you like to hear more of? What topics would you like us to dive into? And if you have not done it already, we would love to get that review on iTunes. It makes our day and helps other people find the show. And so with that, until next time, thank you for listening.